Story 1. Potato salad. I had poor quality white potato salad as a kid and thought I disliked all potato salad and never had it again until I had yellow potato salad as an adult, and I love it. It has got to have mustard though. I am still never going to eat white potato salad. Story 2. For me, it would be Brussels sprouts. As a kid, I couldn't stand them. The smell, the bitterness, everything about them was a big nope. But now they're one of my favorite vegetables. I think it is all about how they're cooked. Roasting them with a bit of olive oil, salt, and maybe some balsamic glaze or Parmesan cheese completely changed the game. Story 3. Sushi was definitely an acquired taste, but I have grown to love it as an adult, now that I can afford to get it from real, more authentic restaurants. Story 4. Rice. As a kid, it was so boring, but now I add stuff to it when I cook it. Even a little salt goes a long way. Pretty sure it's a difference in preparation, not a difference in my taste buds. Story 5. Sour cream. I despised it when I was a kid. Now, I look for new ways to use it because I can't get enough. I had it on top of spaghetti bolognese earlier and will do so again shortly. Story 6. Feta cheese. As a kid, I remember saying it tastes like how baby poop smells. As an adult, I love the stuff. I'd add it to everything if it wouldn't make me fat. Story 7. Pizza. I really disliked pizza as a child. It was genuinely one of my least favorite foods. Now, it's easily one of my favorite foods. I was an extremely picky eater growing up. Everyone assumed I was just difficult and criticized me for it. My mother was worried about it when I was around 2 to 3 years old. She consulted a nutritionist and they told her, "Give him what you cook and nothing else. When he gets hungry enough, he'll eat it." She tried it and I nearly starved. Instead of eating what she was giving me, I refused to eat at all. At 2 to 3 years old, that's not a conscious decision. At that point, she just decided to give me things I would eat while maintaining a balanced enough diet. I learned in my late teens that I'm a super taster. I have over twice the amount of taste buds as a normal person. An example of how that affects someone. Tomatoes are extremely bitter to me. Genuinely like a Nintendo Switch game. That's what tomatoes taste like to me. Literally the same flavor. Story 8. As a kid, Brussels sprouts were my culinary nemesis, but now they're my guilty pleasure. Turns out, roasting them with a sprinkle of sea salt and a drizzle of balsamic glaze turns those little green vegetables into crunchy, caramelized bites of heaven. Who knew? Story 9. Caviar, champagne, partridge, gousse, truffe, 1945 domaine de la Romanée-Conti Grand Cru. Yes, I was allowed alcohol as a kid, and I hated it and all the above, but now I love it. Story 10. I was the pickiest eater as a child. My grandparents called me the hot dogs and waffles boy. I eat nearly anything today, aside from super spicy stuff. I'll go a little spicy now and then, but heat just for the sake of heat doesn't do anything for me. Story 11. Avocado. It's because my family puts it on all their food dishes, and sometimes they add salt and lemon with the excuse, it gives it flavor. I hated it until I discovered that I like to eat half an avocado without any additions, and with a spoon. I only spread it on toast with tomato, but otherwise, I don't put it on any other dish. Story 12. Eggplant. I first tried it when my grandma visited when I was around 6. She made it for a family dinner with a boiled preparation that produced a beige-gray bitter sludge. I refused to eat more than one bite and swore it off forever. Some positive experiences that I was talked into in my 30s at a kebab place I frequented, and on a trip to Italy turned me around on them. Now I eat eggplant like once a week or more. Story 13. Over easy eggs. I tried it once when I was a kid, maybe it was sunny side up, and I found it really disgusting. I tried putting salt on it and it didn't help. So strange because now that's my favorite way to have eggs. Story 14. Asparagus. I only ever had it prepared by my grandmother who would boil it to oblivion, and it was bitter as heck. It wasn't until college that I tried it at a restaurant, and my mind was blown at how delicious it is when prepared correctly. Probably one of my favorite vegetables now. Story 15. Nothing. I've always liked and always hated the things I've liked and hated. I've never really felt like a kid, though, just a smaller adult. So there's that. Story 16, milk. My parents bought powdered milk all through my childhood. The first time I had a glass of whole milk, it was like the clouds parted and the angels sang. Story 17, vegetables. My mom was a decent cook with some things, but terrible with veggies. She would put them in a pot and boil them to death, then throw the water away and give us veggies that tasted like boiled water. In my 40s, I married a Chinese girl who knew how to cook them, and suddenly I discovered I loved them too. I learned how to cook them from her as well. Now I'm a single dad of 2 teens who ask me to cook greens for them. It's one of their favorites. Bok choy, pak choy, spinach, wombok, they love leafy greens. And so do I. Story 18. Baked macaroni and cheese and meatloaf. I could eat that 5 to 7 times a week. That and eggs over very easy on my beloved corned beef hash. That one I could eat 7 to 14 times a week. Story 19, mac and cheese. Corn dogs. I'm probably better off if I still don't like them, but at least I don't eat them all the time. A healthy one is bitter melon. Hated the bitterness, but I like it now if it's cooked with other foods like scrambled eggs or small bits of meat. Story 20. I absolutely hated beans growing up. Beans in chili, beans in burritos, refried beans, baked beans, I would not touch them. As an adult, I love beans, especially in chili and burritos. Story 21. Please, I hated everything about them as a child. Taste, texture, yuck. Turns out I just hate canned peas. I love frozen peas. Delicious. And fresh peas. Do not get me started. Story 22. Spinach. My mom used the canned stuff and would literally just heat it up in a pot and serve it with butter and some salt and pepper. I refused to eat it, and once she said I couldn't leave the table until I did. I tried, and it instantly made me gag and throw up. As an adult, I discovered that fresh spinach has many delightful uses in recipes and is also nice in salads. Story 23, various kinds of vegetables, but what comes to mind most is spinach. On the flip side, though, I used to like a very limited amount of fish, but these days I abhor all fish. Story 24. Indian food and roast dinners. My mother used to make low-quality kormas, which colored my opinion. Roast dinners were just bad at home. Turns out takeaways, pubs, and my own kitchen do better than my mother. Story 25. Tomatoes. Never liked them until I went to Greece. They were so incredibly flavorful there. I eat them now, but there's no comparison in terms of taste. Story 26. Peanut butter. I used to hate it as a small kid, even the smell. I think it was because there was a kid at primary school who used to smell strongly of it all the time. Now, I love it. Story 27. I do not know why, but at some point, it just flipped from, these are some of the few candies I refuse to eat, to mint chocolate is the best combination ever. Story 28. Certainly asparagus. I vividly remember having a disagreement with my grandmother about the condition of not having ice cream until after I ate 3 or 4 spears of asparagus, and I refused. Now, however, I can consume an entire pound of them by myself in one sitting. Story 29. Chili pepper. I have never been a fan of anything too spicy, but in the last 5 years or so, I've not only been able to handle it, but I quite enjoy it now. Funny how much our tastes change. Story 30. As a child, I used to say I was allergic to square cheese. I ate macaroni and cheese, pizza, and so forth, but if the cheese was in a square shape, I was allergic to it. Story 31. Onions. I think it's because my mom would make pasta salad, and I swear it would be 60% raw onion and 40% the rest of the ingredients. It was just an overwhelming flavor of onion, and I didn't like it. As an adult, I'm a big fan of them raw or cooked. Story 32. I am a pretty well-rounded food person. I don't remember hating a particular food, but I wasn't introduced to a lot of foods on this thread. One food I used to love when I was little or young was hot dogs. I can't stand them now, being 48 years old. Story 33. Olives. My brothers and I used to dare each other to eat them and watch their faces get all screwed up with disgust. Now they are my go-to snack, and I love an extra dirty martini. Story 34. Asparagus. mostly because of my mother's favorite way to prepare food, that is, boil it intensely. As soon as I had it roasted on the grill, I absolutely loved it. Story 35, Earl Grey. I remember how I strongly disliked it as a child, both the smell and the taste. Nowadays, and for more than a decade, it is pretty much the only kind of black tea I drink. Story 36. Roasted parsnips, and most vegetables for that fact, had them weekly and hated them. Leaving home, one time I agreed to cook a roast for friends and I wanted to make it decent, not like what we had at home. My mind was blown when I roasted the vegetables instead of boiling them. Story 37. Okra and tomatoes cooked in a skillet. When Mom would make it, I would go, yuck, and Daddy would say, good, more for me. I love okra and tomatoes now. Story 38. McDonald's hamburgers. Mind you, I live in Poland, so McDonald's is more of a snack or a meal during shopping at a mall or driving somewhere, not a regular staple. Story 39. Garlic. I hated garlic as a kid, so much so that even things like pasta sauce or meat made with garlic seasoning would be gross. Now, I'm a garlic girl and can pretty much eat it by the clove. Story 40. Mushrooms, celery, collard greens, potatoes, not French fries, asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, and most non-sweet vegetables, to be honest. I accept string beans these days. Most of the foods I wouldn't eat as a kid, I love now. Story 41. You may say it isn't a food, but I ate a whole jar with a teaspoon once for money on a teenage dare. It was not worth the 20 pounds, but it didn't mentally scar me enough to prevent me from dipping every sausage I can in the stuff. German is the one, the only one. Story 42. Really just fruit overall. I'm 30 and just kind of rediscovering the variety of tastes and textures after 20-something years of eating fruit very sporadically. Also, non-fried fish. Wow, was I missing out. Story 43. I grew up in the south of the United States. My mother was a homemaker. She would often, about once a week, fix us hard-boiled eggs, chicken pot pies, and boiled greens, usually canned spinach with white vinegar for supper. I hated being forced to eat those greens with white vinegar. So many years later, at a rare family gathering, she made that same meal, but I introduced malt vinegar. My entire family realized at that same moment that we'd been pretty much eating boiled greens soaked in basically window cleaner. Anyway, I'd give anything to sit down at that same table that I did 30 years ago and eat anything my mother prepared. Story 44. Codfish? Yes, I'm Portuguese. I used to hate it. The taste was awful, too salty. Nowadays, codfish with cream, yes, it's an awesome comfort food. Codfish a la Bras, potato chips and egg yolks, also great comfort food. Codfish with cornbread crumbs, codfish a la Lagarero, fried with loads of olive oil and boiled potatoes. These are to name a few recipes. I just can't get enough of them. Story 45. Broccoli. I could eat it every day now. I also never ate spinach, but love it now, not cooked by itself, but I like to use it in certain dishes and love it raw. I also introduced my grandchildren to it, and they all like it even though neither of their parents do. Story 46. I was about 12 when it started to get really popular in the United States, around 1974, and the Dannon ads emphasized the live bacterial cultures. I decided I wasn't eating any bacteria for nobody and refused to even look at the stuff. About 15 years ago, I'm looking through the grocery coupon inserts that come in the Sunday paper, and Yoplait has a page talking about new flavors, and one flavor is key lime. Our grocery store doubled coupons up to $1, so I decided I'd try it. The double coupon amount meant I could toss it without feeling guilty if I didn't like it. Oh man, was that good. And they have strawberry and blueberry and chocolate and strawberry cheesecake. Why didn't somebody tell me about this before? Story 47. Vegetables. I don't even know why. As a kid, I was all about junk food and sweets, and now I'd rather have some rice with vegetables instead, especially broccoli. Story 48. Avocados. Slimy green slug-like stuff my mom would use to pollute salads. Now, I am in love with a sexy ripe avocado. I'll eat them plain or with dressing. Story 49. Most veggies. Though I now know it was because they were always prepared poorly. Just boiled with a little salt and pepper. They are better with pretty much any type of preparation. Story 50. My mom's sweet potato casserole at Thanksgiving, the one with the marshmallows and candied pecans, looked revolting to me as a kid. Now, I love it and look forward to it every year. Story 51. I hate to admit it, but my folks didn't do pork chops very well. To be fair, they didn't cook pork chops very often, but I had a negative impression of them from the times I did try. Then one day in college, one of my buddies had a mini camping grill on his porch and just felt like grilling up some chops. And, God, I realized I had been missing out. Story 52. Black licorice. Know what changed my mind about it? Sherbet fountains. My mom got me a sherbet fountain when I was a teenager, and I didn't realize it had black licorice inside. You're supposed to lick it, dip it inside, then lick the sherbet off. Story 53. Fish. I never used to eat any seafood, and when I met my partner, she didn't either. However, over the 19 years I have been with her, I have started to eat fish, not oily stuff, but any crumbly white fish, cod, haddock, hake. I even had mahi-mahi in Mexico, much to her chagrin. Story 54. I saw my biological father assault his girlfriend while I sat in the living room with my teenage aunt at the age of 4, and my dad got tossed. This experience made me not like tacos anymore. 6 years later, I was back to eating tacos, and I still do at the ripe age of 28. Story 55. Hot dogs. I thought they all tasted gross, like salty metal water. Then, one day at summer camp, they had a cookout, but they only had hot dogs. It was weird, but I was so hungry I downed 3 with no problem, and now I love a good hot dog, Chicago style preferably. Story 56. I can tell you the opposite. When I was a toddler or child, I was obsessed with bananas to the point where my doctor was actually concerned about how many of them I was eating in a day. Since being a teenager and into adulthood, I won't even touch a banana or eat anything with banana in it. Story 57. Eggs. Sunny side up. My mother made the best scrambled eggs. No one has made any scrambled eggs that are better anywhere I eat. So when she made other types of egg dishes, I wouldn't eat them. Now, my wife makes sunny side up eggs for breakfast every morning before we go about our day.